We have water leaks during the summer there. So it's not just, it's not just the age of the community. You're going to have breaks. That community that I managed down in Tennessee was built in the late 90s, and they had I had 5 water leaks over a summer. The water leaks happen all the time, and they happen across the company. I mean, I think even our company even has a category for our expenses that are just for repairing water leaks, for those kinds of things. So those things happen, But we got to see if there's a real breakdown in the system, which it kind of sounds like there's repeated issues on Anna Marie, and where those are going to be addressed by the surveyor to find out what's going on there. So we'll have answers for that going forward. And obviously, like I said, the town is interested in our plan to solve those issues, and that'll be part of our presentation to them at some point.
Yes, when it comes to the streets, are you going to repave them or just recoat them?
Are you talking about are we going?
Especially in west.
In what? Well, what we're going to do with the roads, I don't want to tell you. I don't want to give you an exact answer until we see what the condition of the roads are. Basically, we're going to wait until spring, and then we got our community map. We're going to go around and we're going to highlight the areas on the map that need the most work, and then we start there, and then we get bids for that. Normally, they're replacements, but there can be a bunch of different, depending on how much need there is, will depend on what the style and what we decide we're going to do with them.
So then you're not going to just, if there's a section, say 10 by 20, just dig it out and repave it. Can you go in and do the whole street?
Well, that's the ideal thing. But you know what? Let me just say that we had to do one. We bought a community not too long ago up in Michigan, and the roads were in such bad shape that we just decided that we were going to do them all. And we're talking about $1.3 million to replace something the size of Sky Harbor from scratch. So we're not going to be replacing all of the roads. We got to find out where the worst ones are, and then we kind of build from there. We go through and say, all right, there's $200,000 worth of absolute must-haves, and then we say, you know what? Let's put an extra 100 grand into that and see what does another 100 grand get us. And then we might say, you know what? Let's do this right. Let's throw another 100 grand at it. Let's do 400 grand worth of repairs. But we need to see where we stand first. So I can't give you an exact answer. I can't say, Anna Marie, we're going to pave the streets in gold. I can't tell you that. But what we can say is that we're going to look at everything come spring. Obviously there'll be damage. There'll be damage from the winter, just as there is every winter. We'll look at it hard and go from there. And then going forward, we'll do investments in roads as needed. This is not a one and done where we're going to do the roads and then like 10 years from now we'll go relook at it. We do road repairs every year for our communities across the country. And obviously we have a greater demand for road repairs in the north for obvious reasons. So we'll address them as we go forward.
You mentioned how much you've spent for snow removal.
Yeah.
Is there a problem with them salting when
Yes.
they plow? We can't seem to get salted anymore.
I've fallen
People
a
are
couple times.
falling.
Yes, I've fallen 3 times, and it's ridiculous.
Okay.
You call him, and he says, oh, they're on it, and nobody shows
And
up.
it's over the back, over by Anna Marie, and over by
Lebu.
Tammy and Lebu.
I can tell you about this. I can tell you.
We gotta walk in the street.
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing is with salting, is that we go through and heavily salt. We are not the county road commission, so we want to go in and plow. We want to throw down salt, but we could literally go broke if we went through and heavy salted every time there was an event, or when especially it really becomes an issue when the temperature goes like to 36, and then at night comes down to like 28, and then you get the wet, and then it salts, and then it freezes over. You basically need to call Josh and let him know if there's areas that are
I've
of
called
huge
him,
concern.
and
We've tried.
I've tried, and he said, oh, they're right on it. They never show up.
Okay.
That's when I talked to you.
Well, that's when you talked to me?
I did.
Well, and I did, right, that's right. I corresponded to email.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the deal with that. We are in the process of, obviously we have the contractor that does the salting. We will look at the quality of work for our snow removal people every year. It's very difficult to stop mid-year to get a new contractor if there's an issue with that. So that's the first thing. Second thing, Josh and I were just working on this morning. we're buying a new truck for Sky Harbor and a new salter, new plow, new everything. And what we're going to be able to do is, when we have the big events, we can't handle it in-house when we have a big event. You know, we just don't have the power to do that. And everyone here would be terribly upset if we tried to do it in-house, especially at the beginning without having all of the tools that we need. So we're going to get a salter. It's a whole bed salter. And what we can do when we have issues where it might be a specific street that might have a leak, we can go there and say, we can jet over to that street and get it taken care of like that. That's the goal going forward.
I can't believe they salted last night, you know.
Did you see the salter?
Yeah.
Last night, first time, and I don't know how
really-
long.
And last night,
Especially
by then,
the
it was melted.
elderly,
It was melted.
I have a 87-year-old neighbor, and she takes her dog out for a walk, and she's got hip problems, and she's falling, and it's bad.
Okay. Well, what I could ask you guys to do is, if you having an issue like that, take a photo of it. You can email it to me. I'll get my cards out before the end. You can email my email address and show me the pictures, and we can see what we're doing as far as that. I can work with Josh on it and see if we can make this better. But obviously, we have a lot of roads, and we want to get the road salted. We want to make sure that safety is a top concern. But at the same time, we have to be judicious about those kinds of
Monday
things.
night, it was like an ice rink. I mean,
Was
you
it?
couldn't even walk.
Please take a picture of that and let me know.
I was all over, I mean.
Okay. I'll work with Josh on it. I promise you I will work with Josh to improve that. And if you have specific issues, like I said, throw me an email. I'd be happy to get with Josh and try to address it. Obviously, like I said, I want to reiterate, safety is a major concern. But there is some level of, we live in the north, so there's always going to be some level of it's not going to be dry pavement all the time.
That's
I think
right,
everybody
but
understands
even,
that.
I mean, the speed limit in there is low.
Okay.
Not everybody follows it,
Right.
but even when you do, there's some days, I've skidded through many stop signs, because there was no stopping,
And you
especially
can't
on
see on some
on
of the
Tammy, we
over
have a
around.
slant there,
Yes.
and that's a really bad area.
Right. Okay, well, we will, like I said, we will address it. We'll give it to the contractor. Maybe we need to order more salt, we can go that route. Like I said, my ultimate goal here is to be able to have some of the salt, have the salting machine, have the plow in-house. So if we have a situation, hey, we got a problem on such and such a street, we can go there and throw down some salt and get after it. Instead of, when we're working with a contractor, they're not only dealing with our community, but they're dealing with all of their other, and sometimes we gotta wait, and sometimes that waiting, can be a problem, so.
Yeah.
I think we had one right here.
On the issue of plowing, when they're plowing, they're not going all the way to the edge, making it
Right.
3, 4, 5 feet from the mailboxes, where we can't shovel that because it's coming from the center of the road. A lot of times they're coming up, hitting the centers of the roads, and that's all they're getting. And
Yeah,
that's
you
not
don't
until
see 'em
later
for
in the
hours, I
afternoon,
don't know.
until after
The flood
people
on the
are
middle.
already coming home from work. Another issue is here, when you first pull in the park here at Harmony, the salt that's coming up is what's coming from the tires coming off of Genesee. But when we're taking off out of the park, it's bad. It is horrible.
You mean at the end, you're at the entrances here?
Right here at the entrance, and they're not, when they're plowing, there's like a big pile of snow that we have to go around, and then when it thaws and then refreezes, it's like a sheet of ice out there.
Okay.
And this intersection out here, the entrances coming in and out of the park are death-defying in the summer, let alone in the winter.
Well, I was with the town, I did talk with the town planner, and they are planning on putting a light. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of this.
No, they're not.
They're
They're not
We
gonna
are
put a light.
working with them.
Not here, they're not gonna put it here, they're putting it down here. I talked with
Yeah,
them,
of course,
yes,
by the,
I
by
talked-
the apartments.
by the apartments.
Yeah.
But that'll, I mean, that's not good news, for
No.
this site,
No.
but when you get a stop,
No.
it's gonna help you out. Let me, guys, it's gonna help you out.
No,
You
it's
get,
not.
you don't think there's gonna be any,
Oh, no, it's terrible
Everybody
now.
get out here now.
It's terrible now at certain
They
hours.
back up on Transit Road.
And you got
Say that again?
cars
They
stopping
back
there,
all the
they're
way
gonna
from
block
Transit
us.
Road all the
Oh,
way back
okay,
here.
okay.
Yeah, that light's gonna screw us up.
Well, this is your opportunity, gang, to contact the town and let them know your feelings.
We've got the state DOT out here, we've got state assembly out here, we've got petitions going. Josh will verify the petitions.
Yeah.
We tried, we had a couple that passed away. They were hit by a car out on Genesee. You know, we asked for police presence out here. Josh helped us with some of it. They won't, there's nothing they can do. They do it for a little bit, they get tired of it, they stop, they forget about us.
Well, here's the deal with that. You know, I can only, at this point, I can try to help you out with things that are inside the community. If the residents do have issues, they need to contact the town. But my understanding after talking to the town planner was that there's 2 new hotels going to go across the street from the apartment complex, and they're going to be moving the light down there to provide access for the hotels.
I thought they were going in now.
Oh, they're going in now.
And there is also talk allowing us to have some kind of access to a road to get to that stoplight.
Yeah.
And it'll happen through the Hatch Court area, and that'll be part of a long-term plan. But I don't think nothing's written in stone right now, from what I
The hotels
understand.
are going in there?
Say it again?
The hotels are going in there?
That's what I was told. I know it's before the commission, it's before the town board. So,
But they said no, I heard no.
Yes, we knew it was at home.
Yeah.
okay, well, like I said, I can just tell you what I heard
Do we
just
have a new
yesterday.
maintenance man?
We have a new maintenance man that's gonna be hired, and we're actually gonna be having, there's a budget for 2 maintenance people here at Sky Harbor. So there'll be 2 folks that will be hired. One now, probably one a couple months from now as we get heading towards the spring, and then it'll be two people going forward,
Permanently, or just
Permanent.
summer?
permanently. To the best of my knowledge, when I looked at the budget, there's budget enough month for year round. Once we start, you know, obviously with the upgrades and all that stuff, there's gonna be a lot of work to be done, so we'll need that extra person. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Has anybody brought up anything about the water meters?
Yes. Yes, I brought it up, but
Oh,
not here,
I
but
wasn't
not
here.
here.
Yes.
I came late. Because I just wondered, because the one time I got a bill for $2,900.
We're still waiting for a check.
I went to Josh, and Josh looked at it and he said, "You gotta be kidding me." I said, "No, it's $2,900. I mean, he took care of it, you know, but
Right.
I'm just gonna say, you know, with these meters,
You must be
I've been talking to people throughout the park, and this one's high, this one's low, you know, it just
Yeah.
seems like it's,
We're actually,
you know, they're all over the place.
sure. Well, the one thing we can tell you about meters is that they will go bad, just like a knee, you know.
They're
It's
brand
just a
new,
matter of
they're
time.
just put in.
They're brand new.
Come on.
They're not that old.
How,
They just
when
put
was
in
it, when were they put in?
last
Last summer.
Last summer, they just.
All new
replaced
meters?
them.
Last summer.
And they're not,
90% of our meters function properly. Of course, we have broken meters, they freeze, things like that. We do
Okay.
have, I mean, they're mechanical and they're, you know.
well, here's the deal, when you have a meter, when you get a bill that's out of the ordinary, you know where to contact the community office and say, hey, we got, this can't be right, and they can go through. Josh just ordered $5,000 worth of meters, and we're gonna be putting them in the places where you get 0 reads, where it's broken, where it's frozen over. These are everyday costs that we have to take care of, and obviously, you know, when they break, we gotta fix them.
One of the issues with the water meters also is they are located under the homes, behind the skirting.
Okay.
We don't have access to them. I know I can say for our meter was wrapped heavily in insulation with plastic wrap and then a roll of duct tape. We don't have access to reading the meters to see, you know, we're getting a reading of this, but I want to see what that actually says. And if we did, we have to make them accessible to at least the elderly, you know, everybody. With the elderly, we can't expect them to go under their homes,
Sure.
crawl on their hands and knees and have to read these meters.
Right.
But the alternative is that we leave them unwrapped and then they freeze.
And I understand
So
that. But we need to be able to come up with some kind of a solution where we're able to read these meters.
Do you have any suggestions? Because we've thought about it. You know, in a conventional home, of course, they're in your basement's heated a lot of times. You don't have to do that. But in these homes, we don't have any choice but to wrap them and put them underneath.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if we had to go in and read everyone manually, and open up and get underneath the homes, you know, it would be,
They wouldn't be able to get their head between the trailer and the meter.
sometimes that's the case where you
Because
got,
I can't
you
get
gotta
there
crawl
to read
underneath it.
mine.
Yeah. So
Because
we
there's
do
only
the,
that
we
much
do the,
room.
we do the reads, and you know, the residents can, you know, obviously it is a big, go under there and do a manual read where you look at
I
the
can't.
meter and you can track your hours or the numbers on
Yeah,
there
either
rather.
me or my
But
neighbor,
it's a process. I mean, we can't do it, there's just not enough manpower to go and, you know, open it up for everybody to look at them manually. We just basically base them on the reads that we get via the computer, and then if there's any issues that you have that it seems like, hey, there's a problem here, I've been using such and such a amount of water, and now it's spiked, that's when you call up to the office and say, hey, Josh, or hey, Katie, we got a little issue here.
Yeah, but that seems to happen every fall when you put the heat tape on.
There's a
The dramatic
malfunction?
fluctuation in the billing.
Okay. Well, you know, it goes right to your ledger. I mean, we can monitor that. I don't have what happened in the past with American Land Lease, because that was they deal with their own separate system. But going forward, obviously your meter or your water bills get put on your ledger, and we can monitor what's going on that one. But we also get reports, and Josh gets them as well. If there's major fluctuations, we can go and say, hey, this one's a little odd. Let's go get a manual read. Let's go underneath that house and look and see what's going on under it.
I don't know how they're gonna get.
So if there's something specific that happens on yours or somebody else's, please let us know.
And we do that from time to time. We'll go out if we need to read, if a resident requests to have it, you know, our read compared to what their meter says, we do that from time to time.
What about a remote read, like
They do
cable
that in the
from the
city.
meter that sits, is outside the front door?
Well, I've never seen that. What we currently have is a remote reader. Josh puts it on his laptop.
I live in Kenmore.
Okay.
All right, my water meter is in the house, and there's an electric wire that goes from that to outside the house, and there's a little thing about yay big that they read.
Sure. Gotcha.
Which is similar to the older system we have at Parkside.
Yeah. There are the ones, there's a couple different kinds that I've seen. One is that they have the meter, and then they have basically an extension that comes up, and you plug in, it's almost like an outlet. You plug it in there, it tells you what the meter is, and that's what it is, and it usually shows on there what the meter, what the reading is on there, so you can see. It's kind of like an extension cord, so to speak. Our preferred way to do it, I can tell you, at our
I mean, that's better than crawling underneath.
Right. Yes, it would be, obviously would be, but what our system is, what we spent thousands on, is this remote one that we have. So we kind of got to go with what we have, not, going forward, if we want to redo everything, it's got to be completely a new system. What our new systems are called Speed Read, and what they are is we have a remote access in the clubhouse with real-time water usage. And it tells you exactly what's happening second by second. And we can see when there's leaks real time. If there's a spike, we're like, what's going on over there? We can detect those. Those are massively expensive. And I mean, we're for a community this size, we're talking 70, 80 grand for a system like that. And the process of getting them retrofitted and everything is extremely expensive. So for now, if we're talking about a full system failure, we would be looking at that. If we're talking about individual homes where there's a failure here, a failure here, those are the ones where we just replace the meters, we keep the system going. So, but we will monitor that. If we have a problem where we're having a system failure throughout the community, not just one or two, but we're talking bad things, and we can monitor that at the main office and at the local, at the community office, then we'll look at a full system replace. And we may, just real quick, and we may end up doing that at Parkside. I don't know if there's anybody here from Parkside, but we may end up doing that. Right now, they're getting quarterly billed right now, and that's not sufficient for some.
Yeah, on Anna Marie there, we were talking about doing the roads.
Okay.
Now, when you put the blacktop or something on there, it just elevates the road.
Right.
All the water just comes right down off the road into my backyard and
Yep.
floods my Florida road. And my driveway and everything else is flooded because of where the land is. And the land is so flat and so low, there's no drainage there.
Well, and this is a serious concern, because what do you do? If the road is up here and your homes are down here,
Yeah.
and the driveway goes like this, the water's got no place to go. And,
Same
um,
with the big trees there. I mean, the roots are coming right underneath my, carport that the carport is all broken up. The same with my floor room, it's cracked, concrete is cracked.
from the trees.
Yeah.
We do have quite a bit of money set aside for tree trimming, but obviously a growing tree, you're gonna have root issues.
Yeah.
Especially in the older communities where they have these mature trees, you know, that's a concern. So, I mean, typically what we try to tree trim, obviously make the trees look nice. If we have dead trees, we remove them, but, you know,
Remove all the stumps that are all over the place?
Yeah.
we'll take a look at stump removal when we do our tree trimming.
Trees down and left the stumps.
You know, that we find this all over the country, where people will, not just, you know, companies that when we do tree trimming, we have the guys go get the stumps. Or we'll say, hey, tree trim these things in the fall, and first thing in the spring, go in and get those stumps out of there.
Do you have to tell which trees you want trimmed? Because I got one hanging over my house.
If you want to let Josh know what it is, we're going to look at them. Obviously, this is not the time of the year to do it,
Right.
but when we go through it, what we do is we take the map, we drive around the community, find the big violators, the bad ones, circle it, we give it to a tree trimming expert and a company, and they quote us out, and then we go from there.
Yeah, it's right on my roof, it's afraid it's gonna tree.
Yeah, make sure, let Josh know about that.
Yeah.
What about replacing trees? There's been an awful lot of trees taken down here, and it kind of looks bad not having those trees around.
Yeah.
That improves the community to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once we get, that will be one of probably the last things we do. We're gonna be doing landscaping up front. We wanna make the entrances to the community look nice. Basically, it's the place to start. You know, there's so many things to do. Where do you start? That's the place we start. We try to get the curb appeal at the community entrances great, and then we work our way into the community that way. And like I said, we're gonna be doing landscaping. We'll be looking at signs, new stop signs, new street signs. All of that stuff's gonna get done. We'll get the roads done. We're gonna work on that playground, whoever brought up the playground. We're gonna be getting that stuff done, and then when it's all said and done, we'll look at everything and say, if we need to order 50 or 60 trees, we'll order 50 or 60 trees if that's what we wanna do. We'll take a look at it.
Okay, and for future meetings when you come in, how is the word going to get out?
Yeah,
I
that's
just
always-
heard about this.
that's a
Word
good-
of mouth, that's what I got.
That's a good, well, and that's a good question, because you know, I don't know what my next schedule is. Basically, I do it at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month for the following month. So I don't know as far as when that's gonna go. And I'm not sure what the best way to do it. Maybe Josh will post on the bulletin board when I'm planning to come
Not
in.
everybody comes in.
Not everybody
Not
comes
everybody
in.
comes in here.
What would you suggest? What would be a great thing?
Mass flyer or something like that.
Well, the only problem with flyers is we gotta send somebody out there to go around and drop them off at 400 homes. That's
You got maintenance man for that.
right. Yeah.
Yep, he did it.
What about a reverse
about
phone
email?
system, and it would work in the event, you know, delays, if there's a water problem or a gas leak over in the east, and if there's a meeting, if there's a cancellation of a meeting, what about installing something like that?
I would be open to that. I would be open to that. We don't have any plans for that, and we don't have that in any of our communities. What we do is we do have an email blast list that we can send out. We could also maybe order a couple bandit signs, which are basically just, you know, hey, community manager or RVP meeting tonight, and then when people drive into the community, they would see it. But the doing a flyer door to door that's tedious. And obviously doing a mailer, stuffing envelopes, doing all that stuff, that's
Well,
gonna be.
there's really nothing in the newsletter they send out now.
Right.
You know, recipes,
Yeah.
this, that. There's nothing about the community.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Sun Communities, just so you're aware, I don't know if we're gonna be setting up the community to be on the next newsletter. We send them out quarterly, but there'll be stuff in there for the community, for information for the residents. And I review those. The other thing is the HOA can have a section in it, if they wanna put a flyer together, a little, you know, information that they wanna provide. I'm okay with that, as long as it's positive, you know, as long as the message is informative and positive, you know, not, you know, watch out for 73 Anna Marie, they're terrible, you know, that kind of thing, you know. We want it to be positive.
How come they stopped the rentals?
Sun Communities, they didn't stop it, Sun Communities does not use them. The company across the country does not use them.
The rental.
Okay, when we get our tax rebates though,
Yeah.
how do we know?
Come into the community office and they can print out a statement. They can print out a statement anytime you want one. You can come in and get a copy of it. You just go right to Katie's office or Josh and have them print out your ledger. You're entitled to it anytime you want it.
In December, are they gonna, next December, are they gonna deduct our rebates from, or, you know,
How do they do the rebates here?
They come out in December,
Okay.
and that may be something we would talk about. Maybe that would be a month we send out some sort of statement, letting everybody know what the rebate was. That's something I guess we'll have to talk about.
That's
We are
only
just-
the
we-
start. Some of us
It's the
also
start.
get an
FBA, yeah.
And that would
somebody
come
said that they're.
That's a
gonna
much
send
smaller
out a
percentage of the
check
property,
But
but,
that's either
instead of taking
next month or.
Say
Say that once again? That last part I
yeah,
didn't.
that's another,
It's due next month.
that they were gonna send the check.
and that may be a situation where we would just send it
Yeah,
to people.
I believe all of that was handled by American Land Lease, and we kind of got into it in the fourth quarter. But there'll be information about that later this fall. We actually brought in a consultant. I think that they're working with our main office beginning this Monday to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're being advised correctly about STAR. This is the first community we have in New York. We have RV resorts in New York, but this is the first manufactured home community in New York, so we're just getting our hands around it.
Regarding the landscaping,
Yeah.
this past year, my whole yard was torn up because of the water leak.
Okay.
Will that be addressed before anything else?
What it was,
Yeah.
typically, if there's a water leak in the middle of the winter, for example, they will just usually throw dirt on it, and then we'll come and clean it up in the spring.
The whole yard between the houses on mine.
It's like mud.
Which
Where are you
street
at,
do you live on?
Anna?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be, there's nothing we could do obviously when that happens, but
Yeah.
in the spring, that's something we will repair. Anywhere there's been a water leak.
We don't want any eyesores. We don't want any eyesores that we're involved. We're involved. We want to do the right thing. I want to try to mix it up. Joe.
I may have a stupid question, but I understand there's a person in here that bought homes and he's renting them.
Okay.
How are they working this? Because there's one on Tammy, the cops have been there almost
yeah.
every day. And it's a rented property.
Do we know about this one, Josh? Can we, after the meeting, would you stand aside and we'll get that information? We need to know that. One thing that's important, gang, is that, we have a limited staff on site. We can't have 50 people on staff at a community, so we really do rely on our residents to help us out. You're the eyes and ears of the community. If you see something that's not right, you gotta let us know. And it's important.
My concern is, how are these people that are buying it, are they investigating the person they're renting it to? Does the company here know who's living there?
When we took over, so we don't have the background checks that were done from American Land Lease for the previous residents. We can only do,
They do them.
yeah, and so do we, and so do we. And it's an extensive background check. So when somebody, let's say somebody does bring in a renter, they have to register them with the community office. They have to pay a $20 fee. It runs the criminal background check. If the criminal background check comes back with a felony, it's automatically denied. So
There's quite a few of them in here that are
There
being
is.
rented by private owners.
right.
And
So-
That's my
you guys
concern,
don't
and
have
with the cops
that
We
coming
can't,
in here.
really, unless there's an issue, there's really no way for us to go back and say, okay, we don't know who's living in, we don't, this particular bank of houses, we can't just say, everybody in here, we gotta haul everybody in here, we're doing background checks. We can't do that. But if we, for example, we need to know if there are, we need to know if there's any bad behavior going on in these homes, and then we can address them that way. If there's a violation of city ordinances about a number of people in a home, we can get involved with that. So,
How do you even know that? I mean, if I rented my house out, how do you know that?
how do I know?
Yeah,
Well, that's the thing. If you rented out your house and you didn't tell us, for
Yeah.
example,
which I assume.
which would be a no-no.
That's what I
Would be a
mean.
no-no,
Right.
yeah.
But
They're
I
do
would-
it though.
We believe
They
that's
do it all
what's
the time.
happening in here.
Yeah.
Well, we would have to know specifically who's, we need to know who it is that's doing it, that's not registered.
How do you find
How we don't even know who
Yeah.
owns it,
Yeah.
let alone.
It's a process, gang. It's a process. We find out somebody comes in, we go do a door knocking, for example, and we're like, oh, we're looking for Mrs. Smith. We're like, Mrs. Smith died 5 years ago.